Game theory is a way to explain the way people behave in an interactive setting. It's a very useful tool because it helps us to really take a look at the behaviors of individuals in situations where other people might have an effect on how you make a decision. Game theory can get really complex, so we're just going to introduce today the basic parts of game theory. Just like any board game, when you start playing games in economics, there are rules that you have to follow. There are descriptions, there are instructions to how to play the game. Primarily, we have three parts to any game. First, you have to know who the players are. Sometimes this can be represented by individuals, sometimes it's companies, sometimes it's even countries. But we have to have players in a game, and if you don't have at least two players, you're not going to have much of a game. The second thing we have to know about game theory is what are the payoffs? What happens when you win? How can we decide if you win or not? The payoffs are basically your rewards for choosing wisely or your penalties for choosing poorly. And finally, we have the strategies. What is your strategy in the game? How will you approach the game? What choices will you make? Now, to make good strategic choices, you also have to know some other things about the game you're playing. Not all games are the same. Some games are cooperative, where you want to get along with the person you're playing with to achieve the best outcome. Some are non-cooperative, where by cooperating with your opponent, you're going to hurt yourself. Some games are called zero-sum games, where the only way you can advance yourself is to hurt the opponent. Some games are positive-sum games, where both players can improve their position, and both players can, again, worsen their position. Some games are called one-shot games, where you only get one turn to play. Other games are called repeated games, where you play the game over and over, and so your strategy might change if you have to play a game over and over versus just playing it one time. Now, when we look at game theory, there are different ways to look at games. You can have a game payoff tree or a game theory tree that has different branches illustrating the different payoffs. Such a game theory tree might be useful if you had a different kind of game where we have moves that are called sequential moves. A sequential move means that you only move after the other player moves first. This might give you an advantage because you know what your opponent will do. It might put you at a disadvantage if there is what are called first mover effects. The first mover might be able to dictate the final outcome of the game. Another way to look at the games would be if you have a simultaneous move where both players make their choices at the same time. Often these moves are illustrated in what's called a game theory matrix. A matrix is just a box where the players, their strategies, and their payoffs are all illustrated in one relatively simple setting.